This one's for the parents. Your teenager wants Invisalign, or maybe you're the one wondering whether it's the right move for them. Here's what I want you to walk away with. The biggest question really isn't about their teeth, it's about your kid. Invisalign for a teenager can be absolutely fantastic, for the right teenager. And it can be a frustrating, expensive disappointment for the wrong one. Not because the technology failed, but because it was the wrong fit for that particular kid at that particular moment. So today, parent to parent, I want to give you the honest version. How to know if it's the right call for your teen. What makes the teen version different? When good old-fashioned braces are actually the smarter choice. And how to set your kid up to succeed. Let's get into it. What's up everyone, Dr. Eric Jackson here, hope you're doing well. I've been an Invisalign provider now for more than 20 years. I'm also the dad of 4, so this one's for the parents. Now before I get into it, let me set one ground rule because it really matters to me. There's no one correct way to parent. Every family is different, every parent-child relationship is different, and at the end of the day, you know your child and family far better than I ever could. So everything I'm about to give you is a mix of straight clinical fact and my honest opinion. And you might disagree with some of my opinions, and that's completely okay. My job here isn't to hand you a verdict. It's to give you the right questions to ask so you can make a good decision for your own child. And full disclosure, I kind of grew up inside this conversation. My own father is a retired orthodontist, so straightening teeth has been dinner table talk my entire life. I come at this topic both as a dentist who's done it for over 2 decades and as a parent who gets how difficult these decisions feel. Let me start with something that makes me happy. A generation ago, braces were a punchline. Brace face, metal mouth. Kids dreaded them. Today, kids are asking for orthodontics. They come into my office wanting straighter teeth, and clear aligners like Invisalign really appeal to image-conscious teenagers because they're really nearly invisible. And that enthusiasm is a real asset. A motivated teen is a compliant teen, and compliance is everything here. But I want to plant a little flag right now because it's the hinge of this whole video. Enthusiasm at the consultation and compliance at month 4 are 2 very different things. Wanting it isn't the same as doing it. Which brings me to the question this whole decision hinges on, and I want you to sit with it honestly. Will my teen actually wear them? And here's why this is everything. Invisalign only works while the trays are in. Your teen has to choose to keep them in roughly 22 hours a day. They have to take them out for every single meal and snack, and, crucially, put them back in afterwards. They have to not lose them, not leave them on a lunch tray, not forget them at a friend's house. That's a genuine amount of self-management that a 14-year-old has to have. And the trays are staged in a specific order, each one built for where the teeth should be after the last one finished. So when a teen skips hours, the teeth fall behind the plan, the next tray stops fitting, and the whole treatment stalls. That's the real consequence of not following the 22-hour rule, and it's why wear time isn't a suggestion. I did a whole video on the most common Invisalign mistakes, and almost all the big ones, not wearing them enough, losing them in a napkin, are exactly the things that teenagers are most likely to do. I'm not knocking teenagers. Their brains are literally still building the part that handles this kind of consistent planning. So the real question for you as a parent isn't, is Invisalign good? It's a great option. The question is my specific teen organized, responsible, and motivated enough to run this themselves? And you have to answer that honestly, without the rose-colored glasses we all wear about our own kids. Some teens are absolutely ready, and some aren't yet, and there's zero shame in that. It's not a character grade, it's a readiness question. Getting that answer right up front saves everyone a lot of money and frustration. And be honest with yourself about where real life gets in the way, because that's where wear time quietly slips. School lunches are the big one. The trays have to come out to eat and go right back in, all within a busy cafeteria, with friends around. Sleepovers, travel, a long day at a sports tournament. Those are the moments that a tray gets left in a napkin or a backpack, and the hours without them in the mouth just start adding up. None of that's a deal breaker. It just tells you what kind of support your kid will need, and whether they're the type to manage it or the type that's going to need braces that never come out. Now here's some good news, because the people who make Invisalign know teenagers too. There's a version designed specifically for them, and has a few features built in to handle exactly the teen challenges I just described. 2 of them are worth knowing about as a parent. The first is compliance indicators. The teen trays have small blue markers built in that are meant to slowly fade the more trays are worn. The idea being a rough visual check on wear time. I'll be honest with you, as a dentist, I don't lean on these very much. In my experience, they're inconsistent. They don't always change color reliably, and they can turn into one more thing for a parent and teen to argue about. And there's real research behind that skepticism. Those dots don't fade from wear alone. Research has found that time, temperature, and acidity all affect how fast they fade, not just wear time. Which means that a dot can fade without the trays ever really being worn. So I treat them as a rough clue, not as a wear time lie detector. A faded dot doesn't prove wear, it just proves the dot faded. So I mention them because you'll probably hear about them, but I don't want you treating the little blue dot as the final word on whether your kid's wearing their trays or not. There are better ways to know, and I'll get into those. The second thing is included replacement aligners. The makers know that teens love to lose things. It's built into the plan. Some teen and comprehensive packages include a limited cushion of replacement trays, so a missing aligner doesn't derail the entire timeline. Ask the office what's included in your plan because that can vary, but the fact that it exists at all is a practical acknowledgement of who's wearing these. So if the little blue dots aren't the answer, what actually tells you your teen is wearing their trays? Two things, and this is honestly the most valuable stretch of this whole video for a parent. The first is the checkup. When your teen comes in, I can see the truth directly. I can see whether the teeth are tracking to the plan, whether the trays are seating the way they should, whether we're on schedule or falling behind. Teeth don't lie in the way a fading dot might. The mouth itself tells me whether the wear time is really happening, and that's far more reliable than any indicator built into the plastic. The second is plain old honesty. Your teen owns the wear time, and the appointments are where we objectively see how the treatment is tracking. And here's a little pro tip. Let the appointment be where the hard truth about wear time gets delivered. Sometimes the exact same message lands differently coming from the treating dentist than it does coming from the parent. There's more to say about that, and I'll come back to it near the end, because it's one of the most useful things a parent can get right. Let's talk about something where Invisalign has a genuine edge over braces for a teenager: hygiene. With traditional braces, you've got wires and brackets that food gets stuck in, and that makes brushing and flossing real work. With Invisalign, the trays can come out, and your teen brushes and flosses their normal way. That's a real advantage, and for a teenager, it's a very meaningful one. Why does it matter so much? Because hygiene during orthodontics is a real risk, and I use a grade school analogy to explain it. If your kid is typically an A student at brushing and flossing before treatment, adding braces tends to knock them down to a B. If they're a C student, braces can drop them down to a D or an F. Everything gets harder with hardware in the way. But, and this is the honest catch, that advantage only counts if your teen actually uses it. Ideally, they brush before the trays go back in, because if they snap a tray over unbrushed, food-covered teeth, they seal sugar in against the enamel for hours. And when brushing isn't realistic, at school say, they should at least rinse their mouth and the trays thoroughly, then brush as soon as they can. That's exactly the permanent white spot damage I walk through in the mistakes video, and teens are the most likely ones to do it. So the removable advantage is real, but it's only an advantage if the habits come with it. And here's a practical one that comes up a lot with active kids. And this is an area close to my heart because I've spent years in sports dentistry. For most sports and activities, your teen can simply keep the trays in and keep right on going. For contact sports, it's easy. The trays come out and a mouthguard goes in to protect those teeth, which is exactly what they should be wearing anyways. That's simpler than braces, where a mouthguard has to fit over the brackets. So an athletic teen is usually a very manageable Invisalign patient, as long as the trays go back in after the game. Now I have to give you the honest counterweight because I'm not in the business of selling Invisalign to people it isn't right for. Sometimes traditional braces are simply the better choice for a teenager, and I'll tell a family that without hesitation. Invisalign can do far more than it could even 10 years ago, but that doesn't mean it's the most predictable tool for every movement or every bite. There are certain rotations, certain complex corrections where fixed braces simply have more control. Some severe crowding, difficult rotations, and growth-related discrepancies may be treated more predictably with braces, with additional appliances, or by a specialist. And sometimes that treatment needs to start earlier than the teen years. Your dentist or orthodontist will tell you up front whether your teen's specific case is a good fit for Invisalign or better served in another way. And then there's the compliance reason, which is really just as valid. If we sit down honestly and conclude that your teen realistically isn't going to wear the removable trays 22 hours a day, braces become a better answer for a simple reason. They're glued on, so there's no compliance question at all. They work 24 hours a day, automatically, whether your kid is thinking about them or not. Braces can still need some cooperation, wearing elastics or headgear if those are prescribed, but the brackets themselves are always on the job. You can't forget to wear them, and you can't lose them in a napkin. For a teen who isn't ready to self-manage, that isn't a consolation prize, it's the smarter tool. So please hear me, there's no shame in braces. They aren't the lesser option. The right tool for the case and for the kid is always the best tool. Anyone who tells you Invisalign is always better than braces is selling, not advising. Here's a piece of timing advice that applies whether you end up choosing Invisalign, braces, or just watchful waiting. The American Association of Orthodontics recommends that every child have an orthodontic evaluation by age 7. I call it the rule of 7, and I want to be clear about what that means because it sometimes confuses people. It doesn't mean your 7-year-old should start treatment. Most won't. It means a professional should look early enough to spot the smaller group of kids whose jaw growth, crossbite, or eruption pattern would benefit from earlier guidance. There's a name for that early, well-timed work. It's called interceptive orthodontics. Stepping in while a child is still growing to guide things before they become bigger problems. And catching these cases early can make the teen years dramatically simpler. So if your child is younger, get that early look. And if you've got a teenager already and you've never had an orthodontic evaluation, don't wait around for some perfect moment. Get the evaluation. I want to talk about something that has nothing to do with the mechanics of moving teeth and everything to do with being a parent. And that's your teenager's confidence. I'll just say it plainly as a fellow parent. Kids can be mean to each other. They always have been, and they probably always will be. The teen years are an incredibly formative window where how a kid feels about their smile can shape how they carry themselves, how they show up in photos, how readily they laugh, whether they cover their mouth when they talk. So I don't think of straightening a teenager's teeth as vanity. For some teenagers, feeling better about their smile can be a meaningful boost to confidence at a very formative age. And remember, as I talked about in an earlier video, straight teeth aren't only cosmetic. When teeth are well aligned, they can be easier to keep clean and, for a lot of people, healthier over the long haul. One thing I'd gently add, parent to parent, make sure the motivation is coming from your teen, not just from you. A kid who wants this for themselves will wear the trays. A kid who's doing it because mom or dad wants it often won't. Confidence, not pressure, that's the sweet spot. While we're setting expectations, 2 quick practical things that parents always ask. First, how long does it usually take? Now, every case is different, but many of the teen cases I treat land somewhere between a year to a year and a half. Simpler cases can give shorter, complex ones longer, and your dentist will give you a real estimate once they see your specific case. Second, does it hurt? There's usually some pressure or tenderness for a day or 2 each time your teen switches to a new tray, because that's the tray gently doing its work. It's normal. It means it's doing its job, and it usually settles quickly. For the teen situation specifically, my best advice is to build in shared responsibility from day 1. Sit down together before you start and make it explicit. The teen owns the wear time. That's their job. The parent owns the logistics and the encouragement, the rides to the appointments, the reminders, and the cheerleading. When a teen has genuine ownership of their part, they show up for it differently than when it's just another thing being done to them. Set those expectations together, out loud, before the first tray ever goes in. And please set one more expectation while you're at it. The commitment doesn't end when the trays come off. Straightened teeth want to drift back, so your teen will wear a retainer afterwards, basically for life, to hold that result. I made a whole video on retention if you want those details. But as a parent, just know going in that this is a long-term win you're protecting, not just a one and done. Which leads me to the last big idea, and it's the one I most want to leave you with. Rethink what your job actually is here. Your job isn't to be the wear time police. I know the instinct, you're paying for it, you want it to work, so you hover and you nag. Let the clinical appointments carry most of the formal accountability, so that every evening at home doesn't become an interrogation. You still step in if the trays keep going missing or the case is clearly stalling, but you don't have to be the one policing every single hour of every single day. If you take that on, you turn every evening into a battle with your relationship right in the middle of it. Think of yourself instead as the project manager. You keep the appointments in the calendar, you make sure the case is in the backpack, you keep the encouragement flowing, and you let me, the dentist, handle the accountability when the wear time comes up short. Partnership beats policing every single time. You stay the supportive parent, I'll be the one who talks turkey about wear time. So the short version. Invisalign for teens is about the kid as much as it is about the teeth. Will they wear it? The teen version is purposely built for this in mind. Sometimes braces are the smarter, more honest choice, and that's perfectly okay. Get an orthodontic evaluation early, and remember your real role, project manager, not enforcer. Get those pieces right, and Invisalign can be a wonderful experience for a teenager, and a genuine confidence builder at exactly the age it matters most. In the next video, we're tackling the question everyone actually wants to ask out loud, but usually doesn't. How much does Invisalign really cost, and is it really worth it? I'm going to give you the honest breakdown. If you didn't catch the earlier videos in this series, they're all linked below for you. Interested in a consultation with me? Find us at Jackson Family Dentistry, 2033 Ogden Avenue, here in Downers Grove, Illinois, about a mile east of I-88 and I-355. Give us a call at 630-963-6750 or find us online at jacksonfamilydentistry.us. So let me bring it back to where we started. The technology works in appropriately selected cases. The real question was never really about the teeth. It's about your kid, and you're the one who knows them best. I'm extremely passionate about modern dentistry, and I love talking about it, which is exactly why I read these comments. So parents, if you've got a question about your own kid's situation, drop it below in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back to it as soon as possible. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.